Week we're back with persistence.
We're back because we don't stop, because we're persistent. That was stupid.
Good time. Good.
Hey, we don't stop. We're here again. Whether you want to listen to us or not, we're still showing up.
Welcome back and happy Tuesday, turkeys. How long have we known each other?
We've known each other for 2 decades.
I am not apologizing for who I am or what I like or the people that I love.
How do I be a wife? How do I be a mom? And how do I be myself and all of that? You didn't see that coming, did you?
Good morning and happy Tuesday.
Good morning, Turkey Tots. Happy Tuesday. Got the mug back.
I need to come to your house so I can get mine.
I've got both of them. They sit right next to each other in the pantry, just hanging out, talking, making jokes.
I'm like the girlfriend that leaves clothes at your house so that she has to come back.
I'll take it. I like it.
Well, this week we're back with persistence. I percolated on this a little bit, maybe not as much as I should have, because I don't know, some weeks you're just not all the way in. But my kind of initial question to circle around / question for the audience is, do you ever have you felt like you couldn't push through a creative project? And then what did that look like and what did you do? And I guess I can ask you first.
Sometimes you just feel stuck in a rut. And I will tell you that, like, personally, I'm guilty of, like, with my own ventures and creative stuff, I will let that be my stopping point. But I'm even thinking of, like, when you used to do school projects and you're completely, like, brain blocked and you just don't know where to go next. And you just feel like, whatever, how much is this going to impact my grade? But eventually you do it, or at least I did. And I think it's just like, it may not be perfect, but maybe you just take a second and you just keep going. And if it's not exactly what you wanted, at least it's still done. At least you've completed it, right? And this is exactly what this kind of chapter of Persistent kind of talks about. So I can't say that I've been particularly great about that with my own personal stuff, but like if someone's depending on me, I'll get something done. It just may not be, my favorite thing, my favorite piece of work, or my favorite, creation.
Yeah. I think this is the chapter that she talks about done is better than perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which, again, being enveloped in more of like a self-help entrepreneurial mindset after college, like just reading those types of books. Everyone says it's like the most cliche thing, but it's absolutely true that, what's the saying now that I'm forgetting? Like what you just said.
Not perfection?
Yes, or just like put it out there. Like it doesn't have to be perfect for it to be, well, exactly what you said. It doesn't have to be perfect to be done. Just get it done and put it out there and then improve on top of that. You can't sit there and improve forever and ever and ever before you put something out there, because it just probably won't happen. So just get it out there and keep going, like we did with the podcast.
Exactly. Exactly. What you were saying reminded me of a very specific example that I may have spoken about before when we were in photography class and you didn't want to do your final project. And I have a vivid memory of you sitting there looking at your grades and trying to calculate, if you just didn't do it and took the 0, what your final grade would be.
When my mom listens to this, she will be shocked, because that doesn't sound like me, but it was absolutely true. I was so over it. And why?
You were so
stupid
over
photography class.
I have no idea, but I have such a vivid memory of being at your house with you, and you were just like, I don't want to.
Because you convinced me to do it, and actually it turned out to be so fun, because isn't that when we like went to the thrift store and you bought a bunch of random crap and you like dressed up like a ninny and we walked around our small town and took a bunch of pictures? Is that not what that was?
Yeah, I dressed up like a weirdo and I made an I Heart Nina sign, and you took all these videos of me like running around and holding it up in random places and photos, and then made a video. If I remember correctly, think you got like a B on the like it wasn't maybe the best grade in the world, but then you still got an A in the class, so it didn't matter, but it was way better than a 0. But I think it was just that you had a creative block and you were just not wanting to deal with it, and you couldn't come up with anything that was inspiring or serious, which I think this is a good lesson, that if you feel stuck on something serious, just go do something funny and have fun and be playful.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't even miserable. We had a good time.
We had a great time. And some of those pictures are like iconic childhood memories for me. And it's so funny because, and to your point, like if you're stuck, because yes, I remember I was like, this has to be so meaningful and photography and whatever, like serious. And we did something so silly and stupid. So you either go that route or maybe you get that out of your brain and maybe you can feel like a little bit more inspired to do something like you originally wanted to. But I 100% remember that. And thank
I
you
think the
because I
solution is
wouldn't have done it
play.
without you. I wouldn't
No,
have done it
you
without
were
you.
so, and I remember sitting there and just thinking, what is going on? Kayla is usually way more of a perfectionistic nerd, but it was that thing where you got indecisive and then instead of deciding, you just chose
Mhm.
to throw it in the garbage.
See, if it was a math final, I would study my notes and do all the things. But photography, up to your creativity, I was like, I don't know what to do.
It was too many options. I think that is one of my favorite takeaways, though, is that play is the key to being unstuck.
Mhm.
And just like you said, the playful thing that you do or however you goof off does not have to be your final product. I understand that if you're, doing something serious, that's maybe not appropriate. But if you're having to write, if you're writing a serious novel and you feel stuck, maybe go write a satire of something, just go type something stupid or make something funny or whatever for yourself so that you can get out of such a serious mindset and play a little bit. And then maybe that makes you more open to what the real thing is that you need to do.
Yes. So funny.
I was thinking of myself also that I have started probably 100 books.
Really?
Nah, it's an exaggeration. But every once in a while, I'll be like, I should write a book about that. Even just all of my weird stories from probation.
Yeah.
I've sat down and written out like 5 or 6 or 7 pages and then just been like, I don't like this, gross, and then never touched it again.
Interesting. I mean, yeah, she specifically talked about how when you start something, like there was one particular book that she had like 75 pages done, and she just was like, I don't want to write this anymore. But she's like, I also don't want to die with a 75-page unfinished manuscript like in my drawer. And I was like, oh, that's a good way to look at it. It's a great way.
Yeah.
And again, I always go back to there's also this like cliche thing where it's like people need your creations. Like whatever you bring to this world, people need it. And if you hinder yourself, you're actually hurting others because you're not putting that out there. Like you're here for a reason. If you have something that you're passionate about and that you want to do, whether it makes money or not, if you suppress it and you don't do anything with it, it not only hurts you, but you're not sharing it with the world where even if it's 3 people out of the entire universe, that enjoy your
Mm-hmm.
stuff, you could change their whole lives with whatever you create.
And even if you share it with no one, the process might be cathartic or therapeutic for you. I can't share her whole story, but one of my coworker friends told me basically she kind of had some emotional stuff come up as the result of having her first child, which totally makes sense. Anything that you've maybe buried or suppressed, it's such a raw time. And then it's a potential for a lot of triggers or just reflecting on,
Mm-hmm.
when you become a parent, the things that maybe your parent didn't do. Anyway, I'm making some assumptions on that far front. But she had told me once, because she loves writing, that she kind of just like sat down one day and just decided she was going to write her story for herself just to get it out.
Mm-hmm.
And just did the whole down and dirty tale. And then, she has not ever had any intention of sharing that for anyone,
Mm-hmm.
but did let her husband read it, which I
Oh,
thought was really
nice.
smart because probably he had not heard the whole thing in that kind of detail before
Mm-hmm.
and is probably a helpful way to get insight.
Yeah. I mean, just to get her perspective on something that influenced her life.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool to share that.
So I think that's an important thing too, is some parts of what you do could just be for you, and that's okay
Mm-hmm.
too. But
Mm-hmm.
getting it out of your head and into whatever medium it is that you use, something magical happens when it leaves your swirly twirly mind and
Yeah.
gets into whether it's a song or, do you like my hand gestures? A song
It's like
or writing.
a little animal.
I don't want to jump on the viral train, but the Oliver Anthony music song, Scorned Woman, the single that he just dropped. I mean, the man is emoting a lot. It's a beautiful song. It's absolutely wonderful. It's like gives you chills through the screen, but you can tell that he poured all of the heartache into what is going on in his
Mm.
life. Well, I'm assuming because you can feel it through the song. And even if he hadn't released it to the public,
Mm-hmm.
I bet that just the process of going through that and getting it out in music was therapeutic.
Oh,
Didn't
yeah.
maybe solve the problem, but that had to be cathartic to
What's
get
the
it
song
out.
called?
Scorned Woman.
Okay. I guess I'm old already because I don't know what's going on and I've never listened to it, but I will.
I don't think it's your genre, but
Okay, well, I'll still try it.
I'll text it to you later and bribe you. You have to listen to it in the car because it's
Yes.
not good through a phone.
No. Yeah, I would wait. If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna listen to it in the car.
Yeah, do it up.
The other thing that reminds me of the other part of this book, she was like, you don't have to be a tortured artist to be an artist. Like, you don't have to suffer and like live off the coins that you find in the couch. Like, you can still live your life, but also do that as a side and or eventually maybe a job if you stick with it. I was like, yeah, because when you think about artists, you're like, I live in New York and I don't know what I was gonna say. But like there's this kind of persona of the struggling artist. But I liked
Yes.
her point of like, you don't have to go that route. You can still have a job and like make some sort of income to live comfortably and still do your art or your creation or whatever you find passionate. I thought that was a really good point.
And she also pointed out, which I loved, that you don't have to be miserable. Your art
Yes.
doesn't have to be miserable and heavy and hard. Maybe those things will happen, but going back to what we were talking about play, she really hits on that too. The whole idea that you don't have to bleed out on the page or
Yes.
suffer. And then she talks about some of the different phrases that they even use in writing, which I found really funny because I will never forget our creative writing teacher in high school who said, when you're editing your work, you need to murder your darlings. And she used that
Uh-huh.
as one of the examples. It must be a common thing that people say in that literary world, which it's funny because I've said that to myself about 100,000 times when I'm editing this podcast. I'll be like, ha, 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 we're so clever and funny, but it'll be completely off topic, or maybe the episode got a little bit too long and I've had to tell myself maybe I don't need to be quite so attached and I can clip something out for the sake of consistency or making maybe a little bit of a cleaner product at the end. But that cracked me up.
That's fun.
And I agree with you. You don't have to be, if you want to be a starving artist in New York City and that's part of your journey, more power to you. But I like that she kind of broke up the myth that you don't have to be a miserable person wearing the same clothes every day in a studio apartment with 5 other people to be an artist. You can be an artist from your cubicle job.
Mhm.
And if you make a way for that to turn into something where you can leave your cubicle job, that's cool. And if you don't, and that's just how you express yourself and the way that you play and have fun in life, that's also fine.
I like it. I think my other biggest takeaway was just the actual persistence of it all. And again, I know we are talking about doing something creative just to fill your cup, whether you put it out there or not, whether you make money on it or not. I know her example was like she's publishing, she's trying to publish her book, and so she has to get it out there. But I just thought it was cool to hear her example of I submitted this book and got nicely rejected by this particular woman. Thoughts, Kayla? She was trying to submit her book to a publisher before she was, I guess, before she had an agent, something, and she got rejected. And then however many years later, it was the same story. She did not change a thing, but she had an agent, and the literal same woman published the exact same story that she had gotten rejected how many years ago. And I was like, man, sometimes I feel like it's just not the right time. Like, yeah, you could be honing your craft and you make improvements over the years, but what if your first piece of art or your first music song or your first whatever jewelry creation is not super great in the beginning, but one day if you leave it up there or put it out in the world long enough, like someone's going to come around and actually find inspiration from it or really like it and want to buy it or whatever the case is. I thought that was a really funny example.
I really did enjoy it. This whole chapter, I don't know, it just reminded me of what we're doing with this whole podcast project and how fulfilling it's been and how fun it's been and how it's leading into other streams of ideas and things to be creative with. And I wouldn't have had the same persistence in our new venture, Peep, but I wouldn't have had the inspiration for us to go out and try to build something else as like a side business if we had not done this. And I even realized just the skills in putting yourself out there and starting something before it's perfect. The whole done, not perfect thing just really hits home. I do hit a threshold where I just lose interest in something. So I'll just be like, fine, it's good enough. It's fucking good enough.
Yeah.
Let's just do it. So that is somewhat helpful, but I also have had times where I felt like something wasn't exactly how I wanted it to be, which prevented me from moving forward. And it just was like, ew, and then threw it all in the garbage. I've done that plenty of times with paintings. Again, I'm not trying to make money off of painting, so I don't really care if it, for me, it's just like the outlet and the process.
Yeah.
But I will say my biggest takeaway from our podcast and what I've learned is obviously having a buddy helps. Because there are definitely weeks where I don't feel the pizzazz, or mornings where I'm tired or I don't feel great. Or like this morning, I woke up and my eyes felt really puffy for no reason. But I'm like, well, I need to get up and I need to go get some exercise and get in the shower and get online on time because Kayla has a busier life than I do and I can't not show up. So that's been extremely helpful. Plus, you and I have been able to ebb and flow depending on our schedules with editing and getting stuff out. And then I also realized, kind of like what she was saying, but I have to be intentional about finding ways to have play or fun or unplugged time to keep myself from feeling stale. And I've talked about it 100 million times, but I did that whole Artist Way workbook for 12 weeks. And my biggest takeaway was doing morning pages, but just journaling. I'm not perfect. I don't necessarily do it every day, but that has been really helpful just to keep myself fresh and thinking and doing more than just going through the motions of every day. It definitely helps me. I think working out has been helpful because I've been able to develop a discipline of saying not if, but when we do X, Y, and Z. So I think that mentality has been helpful. Like I said, I have to find unplugged time. I have to be diligent about going outside, even if it's just for short periods of time, and switching from podcast and audiobook consumption to just listening to music, like just doing something frivolous for the sake of the thing instead of something always having to be a productivity show. And then the other big thing for me was identifying what time of the day is sort of my witching hour. Like when do I feel awake and alert and oriented and just kind of can tap into that energy. And I've realized for me, it is before I do anything else. Well, it's first thing in the morning, definitely not at the end of the day. So I'm thankful that you let me record with you in the mornings before work, but I definitely have to get up early and do some kind of a short workout to clear the fog. Lately, I've been taking a cold shower, which isn't really that cold because it's Florida and the water doesn't get that chilly. And then I'm blessed that I have the time that I can take from work, but I've taken a couple hours here and there of leave in the morning so that if I need to do some editing or if I need to do some things, I just kind of give myself that bumper when there's nobody else in the house and it's not hurting my work, but just taking a couple of hours and giving myself that free time so that I can do something in the morning when I'm fresh instead of trying to find inspiration at the end of a long day when I've talked to people all day and I just don't.
No, it's so crazy. No, not at all. I'm the same way. It's like mid-morning. I feel like for me, like 9 to 11 is amazing time. I'm not that early. I saw you read my text at 5:21 this morning. I was like, oh God, I just been up for a little bit already. But and it's crazy because I have a toddler and he sleeps like I had to force him to wake up today at it was like 7:20 and I'm like, you have to get up because I have to take you to daycare. Um
Funny.
so it's funny sometimes. But yeah, I like the journaling thing. I feel like I could get use out of that. It's just time management for me. But going back to persistence, I just think that if you like something enough, just keep doing it. Whether it's paying the bills or not, whether it's great or not, I feel like the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. And then it's just like, don't quit on something that you enjoy, even if you're kind of in a rut. Like if you're in a rut for a couple months, just keep persevering and being persistent with it because you're not going to
Or
stay there
with
forever.
something.
With something. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So if you're dead on your photography project, switch over to
Yeah.
make a weird sculpture out of clay and then come back to your
Uh-huh.
photography later.
Yeah.
And I will just say that listening to the last two, listening to Amanda Booth tell her story about her art, and then listening to Candice talk about her journey with photography and boudoir photography, it's been neat to hear from two very different personality types and two very different backgrounds, but just the way that they've persisted in their craft and their art and been consistent and just kind of kept plugging away and kept moving forward. And then when a new opportunity would arise to just say, just to be curious. I think that was my takeaway from both of them. Again, in totally different situations, but Candace talked about starting off doing engagement photos just to make some extra money.
Mhm.
And then rolling that into, well, what if I did weddings? And then just kind of staying open to possibility and staying curious. Because
Mhm.
same with Amanda Booth, just with people saying, oh, can you make jizz jewelry?
Yeah.
And being willing to say, well, wait a minute, maybe that is something that I could explore, and
Yeah.
following that thread of curiosity, because sometimes I think those are sort of divine whispers too.
Yes, I 100% agree. I love that.
I don't know. I really enjoyed getting to hear from both of them. So I think that's all I have in closing.
And if you're listening to this and you have not listened to either of those interviews, go back and listen because they're amazing.
And thanks again to them. And also, if you have a creative outlet or venture or whatever the case may be, and you want to talk about it and your journey, shoot us a message, leave us a comment. We would love to chit chat with you because I'm curious about other people's stories. So this is me following that thread.
I love it. Now I need to I don't know, find my new creative venture. And actually, we have plenty to work on. So just honing in on the excitement of that.
Right? Or just like go for a drive and listen to some tunes,
That's a good way to refresh your head.
some loud music. Anyway,
I love it.
next week we're going to talk about trust, aka trusting the process and letting go of perfectionism. There are definitely some repeating themes here, and it's funny because they are hitting me right in the throat as a recovering perfectionist. So I'm excited to chat more.
I love it. Aren't we all? Here we go. Love you.
I love you. Bye.
Bye.